In today's episode, I'm going to share with you the 9 principles to personal joy that I think will change your life. Number 1, perspective on your problems. Number 2, happiness is the meaning of life. Number 3, no love without self-love first. Number 4, wealth and the 5 types of capital. Number 5, time is a legal fiction. Number 6, diet, the biblical diets. Number 7, exercise, the 4 S's of the physiology of happiness. And then you have number 8, no judgment, personal preferences only. And number 9, just be. Hello and welcome back to the Contemporary Happiness channel, the channel where we discuss the art and science of happiness in contemporary culture. In today's episode, I'm going to share with you the 9 principles to personal joy that I think will change your life. So let's get right into it. And of course, if you want more information about these 9 principles, check out my book, Good Problems to Have, The Anatomy of Contemporary Happiness, where I discuss these 9 principles in the 9 chapters of the book. So here we go. Number 1, problems, right? Problems are abundant in our lives. Problems will never end in our lives. And I discuss in the book, chapter 1, it's probably one of the most important principles to personal joy, is the perspective on your problems. And the rule here is that all problems are good problems to have. The only people that have no problems are dead people. No matter what's going on in your life, you're always going to have some kind of problem. It could be big or it could be small, right? It could be a big problem, like you don't have a house, for example, or you can't find food to eat. Those are serious problems, and I sympathize with you on those problems. But you can also have smaller problems, like, they forgot to add ketchup to your hamburger, for example. You can have a small problem like, you got a flat tire on the way to work. But I'm here to tell you that no matter what the problem is, no matter the magnitude of the problem, A, I have sympathy for you because I know that the problem is a big deal for you. But also B, I'm happy for you because you have problems. And that's a sign of life. It's a sign of life that you are trying to overcome various obstacles and challenges and problems in your life. You're never going to be without problems. And as I discussed in chapter 1 of the book, our brains actually like problems. We actually like problem solving. That's why human beings, we solve puzzles for fun, right? We watch movies, we watch dramas, right? And we try to figure out in our brain who the bad guy is, because that gives us joy. That's why we like watching a dramatic movie, because we're trying to solve for the bad guy before the end of the movie. And it's fun. So all problems are good problems to have. The next principle of personal joy is happiness. Happiness is the meaning of life. There is no other better, goal for your life than to just simply be happy. Now, you think about this and you sound to yourself like, hey, what do you mean I just want to be happy? And think about it. What is the true meaning of life? Is it to be the richest person in the world? Is it to live the longest? Is it to have the biggest family? Is it even to help the most people? I would say that these are all worthwhile endeavors in your life, but they all ultimately lead to you being happy. If being wealthy, if being rich is not going to make you happy, or you're not happy being rich, that's fine. You can not try to be rich, but try to be happy. Longevity, for example, living to be 120 years old. Is that going to necessarily make you happy? I don't think so. Or even like having children or having a big family, for example. Is that going to make you happy? Or doing the best in your profession. Let's say you're a politician, a doctor, a lawyer. Let's say you work at a mechanic shop, whatever kind of job that you might have. Being the best at that job, is that really going to be your life purpose, for example? No. At the end of the day, or at the end of your life, you want to be able to look back on your life and say, I was truly happy. Now, there's different things that make different people happy, but I'm here to tell you that happiness is the goal in life. Happiness is the meaning of life. So I encourage you to embrace that philosophy and aim for happiness in your life. And of course, this entire channel, the Contemporary Happiness channel, is dedicated to helping you be more happy for more periods of your life. So make sure to like and subscribe. Next, I want to talk about love. Quick thing about love. I think love is a tremendous emotion of the human experience. Having love for other people is tremendously gratifying and self-fulfilling. But here's the number one rule about love. You cannot love without self-love. You're literally physically and emotionally incapable of loving somebody unless you have self-love first. And I encourage you to look into that a little bit more and practice the art of self-love. Of course, I discussed the path of self-love in chapter 3 of the book, so make sure to check it out. But self-love is the prerequisite to love, to loving others. And if you're dating somebody, and if you're married to somebody, if this person doesn't have self-love, they can't actually love you. Okay? It's impossible for them to love you. They may be attracted to you, but they're not in love with you because they have to be in love with themselves first to be able to give love. So love is an important element of life, and self-love is the path to love. So look into that as you see fit. Next, I want to talk about wealth. As I discuss in chapter 4 of the book, wealth is usually associated with financial wealth in terms of how much money you have. But in fact, there's actually at least 5 types of capital that go into making you wealthy. And I discuss those in the book. Quickly, those 5 types of capital are intellectual capital, how much you know; social capital, what are the meaningful relationships in your life, and what are your kind of business network and how well you're connected to other people in this world. You have cultural capital, which is your ability to adapt to your environment, your ability to read the room. It's a very important type of asset to have, cultural capital. Then you have financial capital, which is the one that most people associate with wealth, which is how much money you have in the bank. And the last one, and the most important type of capital, is personal capital, which means how much you know yourself and how much you love yourself. Okay? And when you think about it, why do people want to be rich? Usually so that they can feel more confident and love themselves more. Why do people want to be well connected to movie stars or politicians or have lots of friends? It's so that they can feel better about themselves. Or why do people endeavor to, go to school and learn and increase their intellectual capital? It's not just for no reason. It's so that they can utilize that intellectual capital to make friends, to make money, but ultimately so that they can increase their personal capital, their self-love, and their affection for themselves, their confidence, so to speak. So wealth isn't just financial capital, it is the 5 types of capital. Next, I want to talk about time. Time, as I discussed in chapter 5 of the book, is a legal fiction. And you're well encouraged to, not keep time. For example, you don't know how old I am. And frankly, I'm not even keeping count of how old I am. I know how old I am because I know how to, track time, but it's not at the top of my mind. And when I meet somebody, I don't really care about their age. I'm going to treat everybody the same. Time is a legal fiction. And you're well encouraged to kind of change your perspective of time and stop kind of being beholden to the calendar, so to speak, and counting every day and saying, oh my God, I'm 50 years old. Oh my God, I'm 60. Oh my God, I'm 25. I'm so quote unquote old. So time is a legal fiction. In fact, the reason that you know what time it is because your local government dictates the time. And so does the international community, right? There's a set standard time that all countries kind of go by, and they have their own time zones, right? But they're all based on one central time. And when you think about things like the leap year, for example, when you have February 29th, you have an extra day in the year. How does that add up, right? You can tell that obviously that's something that governments have enacted so that we can keep time accurately in terms of how the earth rotates around the sun and seasons and whatnot. But as you can see, the government can, at any time, the government can add or subtract a day to the calendar. And hey, guess what? We're all going to follow it. Time is a legal fiction. Next, I want to talk about diet. Diet is an important component to happiness. What you are, what you eat. And I encourage my followers to subscribe to what I call the biblical diet. I discussed this more in chapter 7 of the book. The biblical diet is basically trying to eat foods that are mentioned in the Bible, right? Things like meat, fish, bread, beer, wine, lentils, beans, herbs, for example. These things are mentioned in the Bible, and they're good, whole, raw, natural, organic foods, right? So you're well encouraged to incorporate the biblical diet into your diets. Number 7, exercise. The physiology of happiness is the 4 S's: sleep, sex, smiling, and sweating. Sleep, sex, smiling, and sweating. The 4 S's of the physiology of happiness. Number 8 on the 9 principles to personal joy is judgment. No judgment. Okay? There is no good or bad in society. These are all legal fictions, right? There is no good or bad. There's only what you like and what you don't like, right? So thou shalt not judge. I don't judge anybody. Let's say you call me and you say, hey, David, I robbed 2 liquor stores last night and I've stolen a lot of money in my life, right? I'm not going to judge you. I'm not going to judge you. I may choose not to spend time with you because I don't personally like that lifestyle. And as I discussed in chapter 8 of the book, if you're a thief, for example, you have a very high-risk lifestyle. You could get incarcerated. You could get injured during theft, for example. It's a high-risk lifestyle. It's not for me. So I don't judge you, but I use my own personal preference guide to determine whether I want to spend time with you. A really good example of this is color. For me, for example, I don't like the color orange. I despise it. I really, really hate it. So if I'm dating somebody and if they really, really like the color orange and they wear orange throughout their wardrobe and their house has all this kind of orange furniture and they drive an orange car, for example, guess what? I'm not going to date them because I don't like the color orange, but I also don't judge them. Okay, so no judgment. And last but not least, the 9th principle to personal joy is the shortest and best advice that I've ever received. And this is it. Be. Just be. Be present. That is one of the best pieces of advice that I've received in my life. And it's also the shortest advice. Just be. So that's it. Those are the 9 principles to personal joy in contemporary society. Number 1, perspective on your problems. Number 2, happiness is the meaning of life. Number 3, no love without self-love first. Number 4, wealth and the 5 types of capital. Number 5, time is a legal fiction. Number 6, diet, the biblical diets. Number 7, exercise. And then you have number 8, no judgment, personal preferences only. And number 9, just be. Thanks for listening. This is David Nima, host of the Contemporary Happiness Podcast. If you like this video, make sure to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel and pick up a copy of Good Problems to Have, The Anatomy of Contemporary Happiness, where I discuss these 9 principles in more detail and give you actionable advice in terms of how to achieve them through the 9 chapters in the book. I'll see you all in the next episode.